want to go over a couple gloves from Revit here. So I have the Dirt 2 and then the Sand 3. And I'm going to go over them feature by feature and compare them and talk about how they might be used. Now, Revit markets both of these gloves in their adventure line for adventure or dual sport riders. I don't personally think they're the greatest gloves for that necessarily. If your dual sport ride is going to involve highway, if it's back roads and then dirt roads and things, I think that's fine. These are the gloves I use for dirt bike riding, trail riding. I know a lot of people prefer like the very thin synthetic type gloves that look kind of like golf gloves, or some people mechanics wear impact gloves. There's different styles. These are definitely going to feel bulkier than those kind of gloves, but they offer a lot more protection. Maybe a more of a compromise glove, a little more protection, but a little lighter feel might be something like the Alpine Stars Megawatt glove. Alpine Stars markets that as that's their version of an Enduro glove. But I think of these as like, heavier duty Enduro gloves. But anyways, there's some differences between these two in terms of construction and what's going on with them. Apologies in advance for the shitty camera work here, doing this on the kitchen table. But this is the Sand 3. This is the Dirt 2. Okay, now the reason I like these kind of gloves is I like the extra protection because I'm a crasher. So, I prefer to have as much protection as I can on my hands, hand bones and things like that. You can damage them pretty easy because they're a small bone. Again, I've mentioned in other videos, things like that are easily injured, not so easily repaired by the doctor. So anyways, let's start with the Dirt 2. I've had this Dirt 2 set for well over a year now. I've ridden with this in all kinds of riding conditions, all weather conditions. I like it a lot. It's a really good glove. The thing about it is it in the summertime, despite it being mesh, I get hot really, really easy. So I wanted to try a glove that might potentially breathe even better. This one breathes really good though, but I'll go over the basic features here. Okay, so you have a hard shell knuckle protector. That feels very comfortable, and there's foam underneath it. It has this stretch panel, so when you put it on, the knuckle can move. It's not a floating knuckle, but that works good. This is the Revit Power Mesh. It's a aramid type fiber, highly abrasion resistant. This piece here is a hard part with temper foam underneath it, and that actually sits on the outer wrist bone. That's a nice little added protection thing there. If we look at the fingers, you've got these TPR hard parts here with foam on them, and then coming down the finger we have some stretch panels, and then we have more of the power aramid mesh type stuff. And apologies, the cat's coming up here to help. Felix, get out of here. Now, the finger construction on these, they are wrapped in leather, okay? And then it's the mesh here on the top. So they're not fully capped in leather. And in between each of the fingers is this power aramid stretch material. It's a stretchy version of Cordura type material, so it's very tough. It stretches good. Now the leather on this is goat skin, and it's PU treated, which is a chemical process to help it repel water. They're not waterproof by any means, but like if you splash through a puddle or something, it'll tend to shed water and not absorb water in the leather as easy. They will get water soaked though eventually if you're out in the rain, or if you're a heavy sweater like me, the gloves get soaked. When they dry after that, I just air dry them. I just put them out in the garage on one of the bike's seats. They're a little stiff after they dry, and then when you put them back on, they kind of soften up again. But other protection features on the thumb, you have this raised temper foam thing here, and on the pinky, you have these two raised divots of temper foam, and that's leather. And then you have a very nice flexible palm slider with a really good amount of foam underneath that. Okay. And another big feature that is a must in my opinion is that the pinky needs to be captured in an additional piece of leather. So the pinky is sewn up, and then there's an additional piece of leather that's sewed over top of the outside pinky seam, so that if you go down and you're sliding on that, that will keep that outer seam of the pinky from ripping apart and exposing your finger. And then it has a reinforced control patch here to prevent wear. And another cool feature is the thumb and forefinger fingertips have touch-sensitive material built in, so it'll work with your iPhone or whatever, Android. Now mine's looking a little chewed up, and that's probably like the only thing on this glove that is really taking any kind of damage. I've wiped grease on these. They've been in the thorns, picking up rocks, doing whatever. I see very little fraying from any fabric, just a little bit of fuzzies maybe. The wrist closure is Velcro, and you got this Velcro flap. Okay, and closes up like that. All right, so that's that glove. Let's look at the Sand 3. Okay. Oh, and the Dirt 2s, they come in black. That's it. The Sand 3s come in a variety of colors. This area of mesh will be different colors, and this is just decorative. That'll be in different colors. This is the black and silver, I believe. Okay, so looking at this, we've got that aramid mesh there. This whole black section is that stretchy Cordura type material. So it's an abrasion resistant material with a 4-way stretch. Okay. Now you notice the knuckle protection is very different. It's this flexible rubbery type stuff that's bonded to the fabric. And so whereas on the Dirt 2, the knuckle is not a floating knuckle, although it does feel very good. It fits my hand well. It's not annoying. This is much more comfortable because it super can flex with your hand. Okay. Going down the fingertips or the fingers, we have more of that protective rubber. Okay. We have some little stretch or flex things here. And then on the very tips of our fingers, we have another raised TPR with a little foam underneath it. Okay. And that one's a little Revit logo there. That's done in leather. All right. Now, if I go to here on the cuff, just like the Dirt 2, it has the hard part and then the temper foam, which is going to sit on top of your outer wrist bone and protect that. All right. If we flip it over, we have, again, kind of the rubberized palm slider here with a good amount of foam underneath it. Different from the Dirt 2 is we have this rubberized slider here with foam underneath it. The Dirt 2 has a pad type thing there covered in leather, but it doesn't have this harder part over top. You can see the thumb on the Sand 3 is kind of a beefier construction compared to the Dirt 2. The Dirt 2 has more of this breathable stretch stuff here. And then there's that piece of foam. Okay. And then the rest of the thumb is not the mesh, but it's that stretch aramid stuff. It goes all the way up here. Now, if I go to the palm of the glove, we've got goat skin, although on the Revit site it does not say that it's PU coated for any kind of water repellency. I don't know if it is or not. It feels like a very nice, soft, flexible goat skin. It does have a reinforced control patch here where your hand sits on your grip to prevent wear. If we look at the pinky, okay, the pinky is wrapped with that extra piece of leather over top of the outer seam. And instead of just two pads like on the Dirt 2, it has that, but then it has these raised rubbery slider type things. If we look at the fingertips, the fingertips on this are a lot different than the Dirt 2. Well, first of all, the fingers on this, you'll notice, have outside stitching. Now, outside stitching, where the stitching's done on the outside of the finger, is supposed to be more comfortable because you don't feel the seam. I think that is true. I'll go with that. But you can see, just like the Dirt 2, it's leather all the way up, but this has outside stitching. The Dirt 2 does not. But if we look at the way the fingers are capped, the Sand 3, the leather comes all the way back here, and then there's that stretchy stuff right up here, kind of near the crook of your finger. Whereas on the Dirt 2, if we look at a finger, okay, it's leather here. This is that Power Aramid vented stuff. And then from here on all the way back is the stretchy Cordura type material. So the fingers on this have a lot more, on the Sand 3, have a lot more leather coverage to them. And then the stretch is just kind of, the stretch pieces are just kind of like right here in a little V. Now, the venting on this, or how much air it might move, I think it'll be better than the Dirt 2 for a couple reasons. One, air can move all through the knuckle protection, whereas on the Dirt 2 it's a solid piece there, so no air is going in and out of this entire section. The vented type material comes down pretty good distance on here. If we look at the Dirt 2 top of the finger, okay, it's a little different. You got the vented type stuff here on the fingertip, but this whole area is completely covered in leather. So there's kind of a odd difference. It's like almost like they're reversed. The location they put the venting versus the leather. So this has leather capped fingertips. This has the mesh. This is all leather. This is the mesh. Till you get to this stretch gusset here. Kind of different. And if we look at the knuckle protection area, you can see on the Sand 3 on the left that that's all breathable, whereas all this is not really going to be breathable. It's all capped in leather and things. The other big thing is, if I kind of hold these up, you can see that the wrist closure area looks very similar, but if I turn them over, let me put the Dirt 2 back on the left, get my blue towels. Okay, so the Dirt 2 has this Velcro tab that comes across. All right, this has the same kind of thing, but it's like it's a beefier Velcro, and it's like a longer Velcro panel. Okay, so one of the things I noticed about the Dirt 2 is like I can cinch it down all the way, but you can see, and part of it is because, like, you know, these are a year old. Velcro actually, as an aside, Velcro products have ratings as to how many opens and closures they can do. Now, obviously for clothing, it's hundreds and hundreds, but it will wear out over time, even if it's not all chock full of dirt. Anyways, this one has a more grippy Velcro, and it even has this little TPR thing here on this. That's really decorative as far as I'm concerned. But you notice this also has these pull things here to pull your gloves on. That's actually really nice. Now, so using one or the other, well, I'm trying to arrange these so we can see them. All right, stop being a spaz. All right, there we go. Right here. Let's do this. There we go. I just got a little smart there. Okay, yeah, that's also a good shot of like the fingertip differences you can see. Oh, this also, the Sand 3, it does have smart fingertip and thumb built in. It's just it's not a silver type material like this. It's in there. It's built into the leather, they say. But how these gloves might operate differently. One thing I notice is the flexibility of this glove is much greater than this glove. This glove's really good, but this glove, as far as like when you're doing this, making a fist, this one's better. It feels better in this area. The fingertips of this glove do feel a little bulkier than this glove. And that might be because the leather comes back further till you get to this little crook of stretch stuff here, whereas the leather kind of stops here, and then this is all stretch back in there. I feel like this will vent better. I can't tell you for sure until it gets like really hot out. I've used these Dirt 2s in really cold weather, like in the 30s, and I've been fine, as long as we're doing stuff, because like I said, I heat up really easy. I carry my Alpine Stars, the hell are they? The Rage Dry Stars in my backpack in case my hands get real cold. But probably most people, this might be too cold of a glove for winter, unless you get real hot like I do. These gloves, what I hope is when it gets like really hot out, like above 70, it's really hot for me, that these will move air a lot more. Now, I don't know if this leather is not PU coated, if that's going to affect the longevity of this glove. That's the cat sneezing. These gloves, like I said, they've been wet a bazillion times. They dried out and they're kind of stiff, and then you put them on and just work them, and they soften right up. We'll see what happens with these in that respect. Things on the Sand 2 that I definitely, or the Sand 3 I definitely like better. This closure is better because it comes further over. So let me put on the Dirt 2, and I'll try to get this in here. I don't know how I'm going to get this in here with my hand right here. Okay, so you can see the closure here. Sorry, I'm doing my best. So I'm going to go ahead and close it, and that's like what I got going on. Okay. Okay, they are very flexible. I don't have any problems using controls or anything with them. All right, so that was the Dirt 2s. Let me try to slip on the Sand 3s here. This little tug strap on here, that is really nice. And that also helps because it'll keep you from stretching out the glove in a weird way. Okay, so let me get these on. Okay, so you can see the Sand 3s, my wrist closure, I feel like it's much more secure. And I still got that outer wrist bone protection there with that hard part in the padding. And you can see when I flex them just how much that different style knuckle protector flexes. That's real nice. I mean, it feels real good. These do not feel, of course, like the golf glove type moto gloves. Now, I mean, they're a substantial glove. Which one feels more substantial between these two? Like, which one feels like you're wearing a heavier duty glove? That's a little weird, hard to say almost. Like, I feel from here on back, like this whole area, the Sand 3 is definitely more flexible, feels, lighter or easier to wear or move around in and do stuff. If I put the Dirt 2 on, and I do some knuckle flexing here, okay, so I'm flexing. Now you can see the knuckle on this, these stretch things here will move. See, they expand and they go back. And this part here doesn't really move. That's a big area of padding. And the knuckles stay good over your actual knuckles. This area feels more heavy on this glove. The fingers on this one feel like a little more flexible and light. Probably, again, because there's just not as much leather and there's more of that stretch coming forward. Kind of interesting how they're very similar, yet they just feel a little bit different. Now, in terms of sizing of these things, here's the deal, or here's what I did. And there's my helper. The Dirt 2s, I usually wear an American large. Now, the Dirt 2s are said to have an American cut. I ordered these in large, and they were just a smidge tight when I first got them. They do break in some, not like a full leather glove, because the gloves that have textiles generally don't break in as much as a full leather glove. So they broke in enough, and they fit pretty tight to my hand. These, the Sand 3, I ordered these in XL for a very specific reason. In the summertime, when it's super ass hot, like my hands will kind of swell up out there. And like if we take a break or whatever, taking my gloves on or off can be a struggle, especially if my hands are super sweaty and stuff and the gloves are like wet from sweat. So it's kind of like if you wear a ring and you stand outside in the cold, like your ring might be loose, you could spin it on your finger. But then in the summertime, if you're outside like doing work, mowing the lawn or something, and your hand kind of swells from the heat, like you can't even take your ring off, same kind of effect. So I got these in XL. They're not baggy on me or anything. What I'm basically hoping that in the heat, when my hand kind of swells, they'll just kind of go on and off like these do when my hand is colder. I could definitely get these in large as well. The only negative of the XL size on this is I got a little bit of extra length on like my pointer finger and my thumb. But, you know, unless we're getting custom gloves, you're just going to have to deal with that. Like one might be a smidge too small, one might be a smidge too big. You wish there was an in-between, but this is what you got. So I definitely absolutely love these gloves. They have been tough. They have held up to brambles, stupid shit. Like I said, moving rocks on the trail, lifting bikes, getting greasy, getting wet, whatever. I expect these will do the same, with the only caveat being if this leather is not PU coated with any kind of water repellency, I don't know what difference that might make in longevity. But I'm going to find out. Like when it gets hot out here, I'll be wearing these and put these through their paces and see how it goes. So sometime in the summer, I'll do a follow-up report on these and how it's going. But they both feel really good. They're both priced about the same. It remains to be seen. I'm hoping this one is a cooler glove, vents air and sweat better, and I hope it's just as tough as this one. If this doesn't work out, I'll be disappointed, and maybe I'll just get an XL pair of these for the summer and use my large ones in the other times. All right, well, I've yapped enough about these, but yeah, check them out if you're looking for an off-road glove that has actually substantial protection, but not to the degree of like you're wearing like a GP race glove or something. All right, I'll talk to you later.